More challenges for President Trump, from legal blows to Elon Musk's high-profile exit and growing tensions with Israel over a potential strike on Iran. Here to break it all down, CBN News chief political analyst David Brody and Dr. Jeff Hammond, professor of economics and dean of Cedarville University's School of Business. Gentlemen, welcome. Let's start with that federal ruling. Judges say President Trump's he overstepped his authority by imposing sweeping tariffs without approval from Congress. David, to you first. From a political standpoint, how damaging is this legally and optically for the president as he tries to keep his America First trade agenda alive?
There's no doubt it hurts him politically. And when I say politically, I guess from a political PR standpoint, but really it's more about executing his agenda. This has been the big problem and really one of the big narratives of the Trump, not just first 100 days, but now going into 200 days with these rogue federal judges basically saying, no, not on our watch type of situation. And because of that, he's going to have a real problem down the road. You know, he talked about making America great again, but there was never anything after that that said, if the judges allow me to, and that's been the big problem. So, yeah, it's going to be a problem carrying out the agenda. A lot of this is going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, Jenna.
The Wall Street Journal had this headline today: tariff ruling is a setback for Trump, but doesn't end trade war. Jeff, economically, what does this ruling mean for the cost of things and fears that some people have that goods could eventually cost a lot more?
For sure. Tariffs are a tax, so of course that would increase the prices that consumers would pay. Initially, we haven't seen much of the tariff increases. The manufacturers and the firms that sell those have been most loath to increase prices until they figure out what's going to be the end result. But this ruling, if it's held in effect, will mean that we won't see many of those price increases in the future in the coming months.
All right, guys, let's shift gears. Elon Musk, he is leaving the administration. He made the announcement right after he called Trump's big, beautiful bill disappointing. He did tweet this: as my scheduled time as a special government employee comes to an end, I would like to thank President Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending. The Doge mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government. David, your reaction and how significant is this?
Well, a couple of things. In terms of significant, look, the Geek Squad, if you will still be there. So the Doge team will still be there. But look, I'm not a rocket scientist. But the last time I checked in Washington, it is important that people hold on to power and make sure that they take care of what is territorially theirs. And so what I mean by that is that here's the truth. Elon Musk and cabinet secretaries were in a tussle, you can call it more than that, over domain. And what I mean by domain is to how much was Elon Musk supposed to do and how much are those cabinet secretaries supposed to do. And Elon Musk is a free thinker. He's a guy that, have you heard, likes to go on X from time to time, a platform that he owns. And he basically starts saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And cabinet secretaries are like, wait a minute, hold on. I mean, we're the cabinet secretaries. We'll sign off on that. So there was a skirmish inside of the White House and Washington writ large, and I think that accelerated the timeline. Would Elon Musk have eventually left? Yes. Could he have been renewed for another 90 days, 180 days? Sure. But I think some of that skirmish that I'm talking about basically accelerated the timeline, Jenna.
David, would you say that he and Donald Trump are still on good terms?
Yeah, I think overall they are, though I will say that criticizing, and that's exactly what he did, Jen, as you mentioned, criticizing the one big, beautiful bill obviously is not going to do him any favors with President Trump. But this is what Elon Musk is all about. He is a free thinker. He's a guy that just goes ahead and says what he means and means what he says, which is obviously a positive trait, but sometimes it can get you into political trouble.
Jeff, it's not just Elon Musk. There are a lot of people disappointed that this bill really does very little to rein in spending. But Jeff, if lawmakers are really unwilling to touch the big ticket items, Social Security, Medicare, et cetera, are all of these smaller scale Doge type cuts all for naught?
We can't call them all for naught, but they're not going to seriously address the problem. I mean, when Mr. Trump made basically the entitlement programs off limits, that meant that we wouldn't have any serious effect at really handling the debt issue, because most of the debt growth is coming from those entitlements. And so until we get the political will across the country, and there's none in either party right now to touch those, we're going to continue to have this situation. We couldn't even get, for instance, what's come out in the House. We don't know what the Senate's going to do yet. We could not get them to fully repudiate the Inflation Reduction Act spending of Mr. Biden. So I think there's a big hill up ahead, and we're already seeing long-term interest rates stay much higher. And just to put another damper on this, the CBO's budget estimates are assuming much lower interest rates than we have currently, and it's hard to see those coming down with us running $2 trillion deficits every year.
Right. Guys, while I still have you here, I do want to ask you about Iran. President Trump, he's telling Prime Minister Netanyahu to stand down on striking Iran. David, how do you read this, and do you think President Trump is cooling some on Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, look, I think ultimately it's a philosophical difference, right? I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu would be considered kind of a neocon, if you will, especially when it comes to Iran. And Donald Trump wants to, as John Lennon would say, give peace a chance. And you have two fundamentally different views. Now, they all could mesh together if the Iran deal goes south, which it very well could. But at this point, you've got Netanyahu kind of chomping at the bit and Trump saying, slow your roll. And that's clearly part of the reason for the consternation between the two.
Yeah. While I have you here, too, any thoughts on the situation with Harvard, David? The Trump administration really not relenting in terms of federal funding for the institution.
No, they're itching for a fight, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying the Trump administration wants to see this go through the court system and go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court as it relates to, some of the legal contours of the fight. But they've done this with birthright citizenship and many other things. Donald Trump and his administration pushing the envelope should be nothing new to us, Jenna, because that's what it's all about. Look, Donald Trump has lived more than half his life in court, so this should not surprise us.
Jeff, a final thought. You yourself are at Cedarville University. Your thoughts on what the administration is doing with universities that it's not happy with?
Yeah, it's an understandable dilemma. I understand why he might have this animosity towards what Harvard has been doing, and many of us share that. But the real risk for us, of course, is what would a future Democratic president do to, say, a Christian university? So we need to be aware of those second-order effects when we start down these policy paths.
Okay, David Brody, Jeff Hammond, thank you both so much.